Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Clutch Conversations. It's your boy Mike. We are back at you one more again, live on a Thursday night, man. I hope everybody is doing all right, having a great week. Hope you hooked, smashing all your goals, taking care of everything you need to take care of. First and foremost, man, shout out to my lovely wife, Takara, the world famous TJ the DJ on the ones and twos. Always holding us down behind the scenes, holding the team down in general. She's the DJ and I'm the rapper. Y'all make sure y'all show us some love in the comments. But don't stop there, though. Definitely do us a solid. Show the channel some love. Hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And everybody make sure you smash that notification bell so you can get notifications every time we drop a video. Shout out to the audio only gang, too. As you know, audio recordings of Clutch Conversations are available on all major podcasting platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. And definitely when you're checking this out on your favorite podcast platform, please be sure to follow, rate, and review. It really helps us out. We appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the support. Speaking of support, if you're involved in this reptile hobby in any shape, form, or fashion, please make sure you're supporting US Art and US Art Florida. The link for both organizations are in the description of this video. If you're not a member, definitely, if you can, go grab your membership, donate whatever you can donate. If you could donate extra on top of the membership, but please make sure you also spread the word about both these organizations that help protect our rights as reptile keepers. Definitely tell a friend to tell a friend. Tonight is the first episode where we have a sponsor, so definitely shout out to our sponsors and let's kick this sponsor video. Big dreams start in small towns. Small Town Xotics is a family-ran business that specializes in high-quality ball python morphs, western hognoses, and select leopard geckos. They are proud members of US Art Florida, and the Orient Society. Stay connected with Small Town Xotics on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Witness their journey as they grow their business and showcase their animals to the world. Thank you, Small Town Xotics, for sponsoring the show.
Art comes in many forms. At Armless Angels, it comes to life.
Shout out to the sponsors, man. I really appreciate y'all support. Really appreciate y'all believing in us. Thank you, man. Let's get to the chat, man. Let's see who we got in the chat. What early birds we got in the chat. Wiz Constrictors in the buildings. What's good? What's good? Can't talk tonight. Keys, what's good, my brother? Thanks for coming out. Small Town Xotics, the sponsors in the chat. What's good, Shane? Thanks for coming out, brother. Scales, Fins, and Feathers, what's up? Thanks for coming out. Kaju, what's good, bro? Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you, bro. Goff's Reptile Creations, what's good, Casey? Thank you for coming out. Appreciate the support. 352 in the building, what's good, bro? Thanks for coming out. Frankenstein Morphs, what's good? What's good? Rock, what's good, bro? Thanks for coming out. Will's Hella Heat, what's good, brother? Thanks for coming out. Benevolent Reptiles, thanks for coming out. Shark Scales, what's good? Thanks for coming out, fam. Big Ray, what's good? Thanks for coming out, brother. Y'all make sure y'all go check the homie out on 15 Minutes of Lame. Bone Daddy Serpents, what's good? Thanks for coming out. PCF Funny Royals, what's good? Thank you for coming out, fam. Jeremy, what's good? Jeannie and Jeremy, what's good? Thanks for coming out. Chantrell, what's good? Sacred Serpents in the building, what's good? Y'all make sure y'all smash that like button. The sponsor, the homie Justin Thomas, what's good? Armless Angels in the building. What's up? Jesse, what's good? Thanks for coming out. The homie Chad, what's good? We're going to stop it right there. Let's kick this intro and get to the show.
Baby, baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor, I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool. Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this?
Oh my gosh, my stomach hurts.
Episode 62, Leviathan Snakes. What's up? It will help if I add you to the stream. What's good? What's good?
What's going on? I do have to apologize. Courtney's gonna be here. She just had to jump into the other room because Ellie woke up. So she is trying to get Ellie back down.
It happens. It happens. How's Ellie?
She is 1. She turned 1 in February. So little tiny baby still.
Nice. Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, totally happens. So how's everything going, man?
It's going well. So we have had 2 clutches drop so far for the 2023 season, and we're stoked because both of them are pretty freaking awesome. I'm excited about them. And then we have a bunch of them that are like ovulating or in prelay shed or stuff like that. So it's going really well for us. So
nice. What are the 2 that have dropped so far?
So the most recent one was a Butter Mojave male to a Super Pastel Mystic female. And then that was our most recent one. We had 7 eggs, like total. Well, there was 6 good eggs, 1 slug in that one. And then the one before that was our Sunset male to a Super Banana Sunset female.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we got 5 eggs from that one.
Nice. So real quick, I know y'all been on a lot of shows, and so y'all kind of gone through like the whole lead up spiel, but just kind of set the stage for us and talk about how y'all got into the hobby and what kind of led to y'all get into the hobby and turn it into a business. Yeah.
So we got in like right as COVID was kicking off, like maybe just a little teeny tiny bit before that. And so we're 100% COVID breeders. Like that's how we came in on that way and whatnot. So we came in. Courtney has, and we've talked about this in other ones, but kind of like a quick abridged story for it is Courtney's had animals like her entire life. She had turtles for years and years and years. And she had wanted a ball python, and she ended up getting a ball python. And when we got him, he was the best pet, or he is the best pet. We still have him, that first python that we got. I know the eyebrows going in super well, so I'm excited about it. We'll have to shave it off today. So. Anyways, so we had we got that first ball python. His name's Amos. He was a banana calico hidden gene Woma male, and we were just getting him as a pet, and he was just amazing. So I have had like cats, dogs, stuff like that growing up, but I've never been a big animal person. But when Courtney got him, when she got Amos, I was like, this is the coolest freaking animal ever. And it got to the point where I wanted to get one as a pet, and Courtney had asked a couple different times if we could breed, and I was like, that's weird, no. what are we gonna do if we breed snakes? Like, that's ridiculous. Who is gonna buy these random snakes? We're gonna have like 6 snakes in our house, and we're not gonna be able to sell. It's ridiculous. No, that's silly. And look at me, how stupid I am now. But yeah, so we ended up eventually when Courtney got me into it and I got my first one as a pet, she showed me Morph Market. And when she showed me Morph Market, I think there was like a banana inchy clown that I saw in Morph Market where it just looked absolutely amazing, like the strong orange stripe down the back. And the price was like $1,000. So like, that's crazy. Who is spending $1,000 on a snake? Nobody's going to do that. We could breed that. We can make that. Like, and then that's kind of how we got into it, is kind of like hobby level. Like, there were some snakes that we thought were way too expensive when we could just make them, like 20 years from now by pairing like a banana to a norm. Like, that's how we started. So
that's funny. That's funny. I had like the same thought process when I first got into it. What's up, Ellie?
Sorry, I'm not going to sleep.
Nice. We got a guest star.
Yeah, I wanted to apologize for tending to this one, but I'm probably gonna see if I can get her to fall asleep. So
no apologies necessary.
This little baby is the most rage-filled baby in the world. Like,
she tends to.
Yeah.
She took a nap in the car, and so now it's not bedtime. But I'm sorry. I will be in the chat, and then when I get her down, I will come back. So
thank you.
Sorry, guys. Thank you.
Right.
There you go. That was Ellie's first appearance.
First appearance. Saw it here first. So it's funny, like with my son, like we were like lucky as hell as far as like sleeping and whatnot, like overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Like he slept all night from the get-go. My daughter was totally different. Like, she didn't sleep at all. Like, it was like night and day experience. We were spoiled with our son.
So we also have a 7-year-old, and he's with his mom like during the like school year, and then he's down here during like pretty much anytime school's out for like a week or so. And he was just awful, terrible, like sleeping like throughout the whole first year, like getting up like 3 or 4 times a night. And I was like fully prepared for that. I'm like, oh, this is gonna suck. This is gonna be terrible when we have Ellie. Ellie's great. Ellie's great at sleeping.
Yeah, and they grow up so quick, man. So cherish it for sure. Like my son, he's pushing 6'2" now, and I'm 5'9". So like,
okay.
Like, what up?
So weird. Yeah.
It's just all skin and bones though.
Mm-hmm.
So he hadn't filled out at all. But yeah, they grow up so quick, man. So quick.
But yeah, so that here, I'm gonna scoot over just a little bit so that way I'm not like off to the side of the screen and whatnot. But when Courtney comes back, I'll get back over there. So
all right.
But yeah, so going back into it is when I decided that I wanted to get like one as a pet, Courtney kind of like led me towards like Morph Market, saw these different combinations. We thought they were absolutely amazing and beautiful, but it just seemed too expensive. Like at that point in time, like when we were thinking of buying a pet is like $300 kind of thing. Like you're not spending $1,000, you're not spending $2,000, $5,000 on a pet. So when we got into it, it was very, very like pet focused, hobby level. We're just going to have a couple little pairings to like make the snakes that we felt that we didn't want to pay the money for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then when we really got into it, it was like a Repticon, I think is what we went to. We went to a Bojangles. All right. So that first snake I bought, it was a Blue-Eyed Lucy, a Butter Mojave hypo male. And we meet up with the person, like Courtney finds them on like a Facebook group or something like that. We meet up with them at a Bojangles parking lot in Columbia, South Carolina. And again, this is just kind of, we didn't know anybody in the hobby kind of thing. Like we weren't exposed to it. We didn't know. And they told us about a Repticon, like that was coming up the next weekend. And they're like, oh, you guys going to the Repticon? And we don't know anything about it. And we're like, what is that? And they tell us about it. And we're like, oh, that does sound kind of fun. So we go to that Repticon, and that was like, this is really freaking cool. And we bought a mismatch of like 6 or 7 snakes that didn't go together at all. And they were just, oh, that's an Xanthic, and it's like black, white, and silver. That's so cool. We got to have that. And not getting another male with like, we didn't think about it like that. We were just buying snakes that we thought. And I feel like everybody goes through that. So
yeah. For sure. I definitely went through it myself. Most of the snakes that I bought, like from the beginning, I don't have anymore. I still got a few like from 2020, because 2020 was when we first started getting snakes, and just like y'all, like I picked up just things that caught my eye. I wasn't willing to like invest in like the higher higher end snakes and snakes with higher prices. When I saw it sticker shock, I was like, what in the world? Like, I would never pay this for a snake. But like fast forward to the day, and it's like that's nothing. But I was just picking up some random stuff. Didn't really have a real plan. I didn't have a focus on what I wanted to do. It wasn't until I started talking to other people in the hobby, like Reggie from Reggie's Urban Jungle was one of the people who I talked to who really kind of like helped me kind of like flip that switch and start thinking about projects differently and things of that nature. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people go through it, and fortunately I went through it quickly, and it sounds like y'all have too. And I was able to kind of like divert and like change my path, because I feel like the route that I'm going now, like I feel like I'm headed more in a right direction than where I was before, because before it was just like, I want that snake with no real thought process, no plan, no end game.
Yeah, 100%. Because like, and like we know, like we talk about it, but I mean, just in case somebody is in the chat now, or if somebody watches this in the future who isn't like super aware of and all that stuff, but like any other skill, any other thing that you start, when you very, very first start, you don't know what you're doing, and you got to learn and you got to practice and get better at it. And I do think that going through that process of like buying a bunch of snakes that are beautiful but don't really fit together, that's part of the learning process, and that's how you kind of like level up, in one of the ways that you level up in the ball python hobby as a breeder, at least.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm definitely glad the light switch flipped for me though, for sure. So
yeah, I apologize. I don't want to ask you a bunch of questions. So.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to.
You got a question?
So, do you think when new people get into the hobby and they're like, I want to breed, and they start going through that phase of like just buying snakes, how long do you feel like that usually lasts, and what do you think gets people out of that?
I think well, it probably varies like person to person, right? And I feel like a big part for me was who I surrounded myself with, people who had been in the game for longer than me, who were able to like advise me and kind of point me in the right direction. And then that was part of it. And then like I joined some Patreons early on, and I started hearing different kinds of conversations from people who were like very successful at what they're doing. Like I joined Billy's Patreon shortly after. I joined Justin's Patreon, and I'm in a couple other Patreons as well. Ozzy's another big one. And like just hearing the things that they discuss and like thinking about it with a different mindset, right? And then so at that point, once I start like investing like more money in it, I think my mindset changed, and I start thinking about it more so as a business. I feel like if you're taking the hobby approach, I feel like there's a little bit more like flexibility with like the kind of things you can kind of do if you're just trying to do it as a hobby. But I feel like if you want to do it as like a business, right, and you want that business to be successful, I do feel like it's like certain things you got to do. Not saying I'm perfect at all of those things, and it's still like a learning process, and like I'm adding more and more tools in my toolkit as I go and grow in the business. But I do think you got to have a business mindset and make like solid business decisions.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I apologize for interrupting you, though. I know.
No. Good. That was a great question. Feel free to ask as many as you have. So speaking about business and entrepreneurship, what's the draw of entrepreneurship for you?
So I that's a good question. I really like marketing. That's like and I talk about it a lot and all that stuff. That's my personal, like professional career and all that stuff. I'm super passionate about marketing, and I really, really love it. I like the idea of having like our own business, but Courtney does a lot of the stuff that like I'm not really good at, like customer service, shipping snakes, like all of the like details that are like actually required for a business. I like the marketing aspect. I like buying animals and holding back animals. So what I would say, for me at least, when Courtney started it, so when she started the Instagram, because that's kind of like how it started and everything. Again, it wasn't thinking of it in terms of a business. We knew that we were going to breed a couple snakes because we wanted to make like the combos that we didn't want to pay for. And we're like, all right, we're going to need to be able to sell these animals. And Courtney was like, okay, if we're going to sell these animals, I'm going to start up an Instagram so that way people can like know us and we'll have a little bit of a local market so people trust us, and we'll be able to have somebody to buy like a handful of snakes a year. And when she started posting pictures on it, because Courtney started all of it on her own. When she started posting pictures, she had just started the account, and when she very first started the account, she was posting like once a day to 3 times a day at the beginning. She was getting like 100 followers a week, and she had like no followers at all, and she was getting like 100 likes on a picture, 200 likes on a picture, 300 likes on a picture. And I'm like, that's really good, especially like working in marketing. I'm like, that's really good engagement. Like I was looking at like her engagement rate from like reach to the actual people interacting with it, and she was hitting like 30% engagement rate consistently. And I'm like, this is really cool. Like you are doing something really, really good here. And I feel like that Courtney doing it like that kind of piqued my interest, because it's like once you kind of see that initial bit of success, it draws people to you. And that's what happened. Like Courtney drew me into it through that, I would say.
So what was it about her IG approach do you think led to like that engagement and like that growth like right out the gate?
I think a lot of the reptile hobby, and this is no way like value statement, I think a lot of the reptile hobby is perceived to be male dominated. I think that if you took 100 random logos, 100 random brands from the reptile hobby, they're all going to be very dark. They're all going to be like probably like harsh colors. Not saying that they're bad colors, but harsh, like reds, things like that, dark blues, things of that nature. And it's men who are pretty much advertising, setting up brands for men. And Courtney, when she did it, when she very first bought her snake, she went to Morph Market and she saw a lot of stuff like that. And she felt intimidated by it. And she didn't want to buy from those people because she didn't feel like that it reflected her. So she wanted to make an Instagram presence that realistically appealed to women. So that's part of the reason why like our colors were like purple, and like our very, very first logo had like flowers on it with like the snake and all that stuff. And we adjusted it from there. But that Courtney wanted to make a brand that would be that was kind of centered on selling pet reptiles to women who didn't feel like that they fit in with the rest of the reptile hobby. And I think that is kind of what happened at the beginning, is that she made the brand and kind of made the pictures like that. And there wasn't really anybody else who was doing it like that at that time. I'm not saying that there wasn't anybody, but I think that that's part of the reason why she made her brand stand out at the beginning.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's dope. That's really dope. And it's at the end of the day, it's all about standing out.
Yeah, and also, just so you know, Courtney will deflect. She uses, I don't know what the right way is. Like, I don't want to say conceitedness, but she'll deflect compliments by saying like, because I'm awesome, of course. Like, so.
Shout out to the homie Bosa. I appreciate the super chat, homie.
But yeah, so I would say that's one of the things. I think that Courtney came across very warm and welcome and like open to a community of people that wasn't the majority of the brands. Not saying that the brands were not welcoming, but that's not the vibe you get when you see like a black logo with a skull and blood dripping down. You don't get like, oh, this seems like a nice dude. I want him to watch my kids. Like
yeah, it's funny. Like in one of your videos, you like use like a made up name of a ball python breeder that like someone went and comes like sucking my balls LLC. So
yeah, like that idea. Like if you're gonna like, and again, there's different. So we've changed from then. Like we do maintain a lot of those brand values, but having gotten experience in the hobby, I don't feel like that we focus on the pet market as much as we were originally going to. We've shifted, and now we're more on like I feel like that we focus on the newer breeders who are just now deciding that they are wanting to take it very, very seriously. So they are not just like pairing 2 snakes together. They're like, I want to take this seriously. I'm going to learn how to market my business. I'm going to learn how to structure this to give my business the best chance at success. And it's a different market than the person who comes in looking for their very first ball python, which is what we were like.
Gotcha. So talk about like the evolution of your mindset in terms of like the primary customer group you wanted to focus on.
Yeah. So at the beginning, it was very much like we're going to make like a pairing or two a year. We're going to get a handful of clutches so we can try to make the snakes that we want to keep. And we're going to sell the babies to people as pets. And then once we got into it and we started buying like a bunch of mismatch of animals, we dove into the YouTube world. And it's just like watching so many like probably thousands of hours of ball python videos. I decided that, or we started talking about like, oh man, this would be so cool if one day we could do this as a business. Like if this could be full-time income, that'd be so cool. Like the dreaming kind of aspect that I feel like happens to a lot of people. And I felt that if we were going to do it as a business, one of the ways that we could try to make a name for ourselves at the beginning was try to get really well known for one project, one high-end project. So we went through and we started looking at, I think we looked at Sunset, we looked at Monsoon, we looked at Puzzle, we looked at Wookiee, we looked at Stranger, and based off of all the animals that were available and the thing, like the one that I was like most excited about, we ended up choosing Sunset. And I always talk about Sunset. It's my favorite project. And I think that it was making that choice because then we were changing from, we're not investing in like $200, $300 animals. We're investing in like $4,000 or $5,000 animals. And then it's like, okay, we're changed. That's a different person who's going to be buying those. And I think over time it kind of evolved to like, all right, if we're going to be making $4,000 and $5,000 animals, who's going to be buying them? And then when we had our first season and then our second season last year, we realized how much more work it is to sell a $200 snake to a brand new person who's never had a reptile than it is to sell a $5,000 snake to another breeder. And it's so much easier to sell a $5,000 snake. It's so much easier.
Oh, it really is. Well, First off, shout out to Clovis Reptile. Really appreciate the super chat, homie. It is easier to work with like the higher end snakes, from what I'm gathering, versus like more the pet side. Like I'm not saying that I don't want to deal with the pet side, or I'm like not trying to shun them, but it is like a different experience because you're dealing with someone kind of on a different level, right? Because chances are by the time someone's gotten to the point to where they are willing to invest that kind of money into a snake, then they've kind of like checked off all those boxes along kind of like their growth in keeping and whatnot before, and so they don't have to ask you like all those kinds of questions and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like it's a different interaction, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's been so many people because we don't have like every single clutch that we have isn't a Sunset to a Super Banana Sunset. We make 100% pet level stuff, and we love the people who buy those from us. Like they're awesome people. It's just, it is objectively, it gives you a better chance to shine with your customer service with a new breeder or a new keeper than you do with an experienced one. Because the new keeper, they're going to come back to you and they're going to be like, my snake didn't eat this week. What should I do? And if you're like, look up a YouTube video and leave me alone, versus being like, all right, let's talk about your setup. Let's try to figure it out with you. It's 100%. Going to make you stand out better. And then later on, if they become a breeder, they are going to know you treated them well and that they're going to come back to you.
100%.
So we still love those pet people, but it's just, it is easier to sell a $5,000 snake than it is to sell a $200 snake.
Cool. So speaking of like developing skills and stuff in business, what do you consider like one of the most important skills that someone working in this industry should have?
So I'm biased on this, obviously. I personally think that there's enough evidence to say, so it's not just my own bias, that if you have a huge passion for the animals and you love the animals, but you also have skills in marketing, those are the people who do the best. Those are the people that stand out, and those are the people that people remember and recognize. Like Justin, he has a marketing background. I'm pretty sure Bob also has a marketing background or had a marketing background and all that stuff, or sales background. I don't remember exactly which one it was for that. A lot of the people.
Yeah, he was doing sales, I think, like in maybe insurance sales or something like that.
Yeah. But I think that if you are looking for a skill set, and one good thing is you can learn a marketing skill set super easy on like YouTube. Just watch marketing videos and you're going to level up so quickly in marketing. I would say that's besides the animals, like learn how to take care of the animals, learn how to breed the animals, learn the the concept of breeding strategies. But the outside skill from the actual snakes is marketing. If you can learn how to market yourself, you're going to do way better than if you just ignore the marketing and you go off of the idea like, if I breed quality ball pythons, the snakes will sell themselves, because I don't think that that is actually true in 99% of the cases.
Gotcha. So talk a little bit about your marketing background. So like kind of break down the nuts and bolts and how y'all have chosen to incorporate that into your business.
Yeah. So both Courtney and I are super big nerds. We really like science fiction and fantasy books. And my dream, like I would say like high school to like college-ish time, my dream job was to make a full-time living as a novelist. And that's like wanting to be a rock star if you're a musician and all that stuff. Like there's not a lot of money in it. And even if you do make it, you're probably not going to like make a full-time living off of it. You might write a book and get it published, but you might not like, that's not your full-time income kind of thing for most people.
Brittany would beg to differ.
You're right. She's crushing it. Like I would say most people aren't Brittany Gobble. So, but no, she, so that was kind of like my dream. So I went to school. My undergrad is in English with a concentration in writing.
Okay.
And as I did that, I also did like a graduate or a certificate along the way, like while I was doing that in social media management. When I graduated from there, I ended up like throughout it, I was a freelance copywriter, just kind of making a little bit of money throughout college. And that kind of was my introduction to using my skills to write to get paid for it. So a copywriter, that's kind of what started me into marketing. And then I ended up getting a job as the social media manager for the South Carolina Army National Guard. So I ran their social media accounts because I had that social media certificate, and then I had my bachelor's in English and all that stuff. I did that, really, really liked it. And that's where I learned like photography and videography in that role, because I was a writer beforehand. And while I was doing that, I ended up going to school to get my master's, a master's in fine arts and creative writing, and loved it. Super, super good. I really liked it. And that really dove into like the idea of storytelling and how you can make characters and the specific, like elicit emotions in your audience from specific characters. Like one example, and people see this in movies all the time. If you want your audience to connect to a character and you want them to like that character, you have to make them sympathetic, proactive, and competent. So sympathetic is like, you see a puppy that's like cold and shivering on the side of the road, and your character picks it up and dries it off and brings it home and gives it a bath and all that stuff. And that makes you think that that person's a good person. So that's one of the things that we try to display. That's why we try as much as we can to help whoever we can. That's why we'll talk to literally anybody who's like, hey, can I call you and talk about my breeding plans? 100%. We are down for that. So that's one thing, sympathy. Then proactivity. People like characters who are going out there and doing the work and putting themselves out there, and they're not waiting for somebody else to make them do it. So they're the ones who get up. They're the ones who are like proactively like chasing their dreams. People like that. They like seeing characters like that. So that's something that we try to exhibit. And then last one is competence. People like characters who they feel like that they are good at something. So whenever we are trying to do like our marketing stuff, but in terms of like this or any of our videos, we want it to look as competent as possible. So that's why we pay a lot of focus on production value and like editing and stuff. So those kind of things, all of those things combined help people connect and like characters. So we're like, all right, let's try to use that stuff to make people connect and like to our brand. So I learned videography, learned photography in the social media world, learned a lot of storytelling stuff with my master's. I had started doing a doctorate of business administration for strategic marketing, but I did like one course in it, and I had to submit my proposal for the dissertation, and it had gotten rejected. And that was like right when Ellie was like, she was like a month before she had been born. I've never went back to like revise it. I'm just like, I can't do this right now. That's way too much work. I'm trying to work on a doctorate right now. And then now I'm in charge of the digital marketing for a bank that like serves the East Coast.
Okay. Okay. So I've heard you say that like Justin is kind of like an example of like marketing 101 and like product launching 101. So speak to that and like what exactly you mean by
Wait, can you say that one more time? I was distracted by Troy's comment.
Oh no, you good?
Yeah.
So I've heard you like say before that like Justin is like a good example of a great marketer, and like you specifically mentioned like product launching 101.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So one of the things when it comes to launching a product, to get people excited about a product, let's say that we hit a new gene and we just throw the new gene out there and we're like, hey, here's this new gene. What it can do is it might catch some interest and people might think that that's kind of cool. But one of the things that you want to establish when you're doing like a product launch is you want to create a knowledge gap. So what the knowledge gap does is you catch somebody's interest with something that is interesting to them. For example, we'll say the Pompeii. All right. So you throw it out there. It catches people's interest. They're like, what is that? And they go to find out and they get some of the answers. So that way they're partially satisfied, but they don't get all of the answers. And because they don't get all of the answers, they start doing more research and they start trying to figure out like, what is going on here? And they talk to other people about it. And then that keeps going. And when finally the answer comes out and it's surprising and it's not what they were expecting, people are like, wow, that's so cool. And that's what happened. Because it was like, he slowly released the genes that were in the Pompeii. And then it ended up being black pastel was the last one that like people were like, oh shit, I did not realize that was it. And it's stuff like that. So then you aren't thinking of it. You're taking up that mind share for an extended period of time. And two, you aren't necessarily creating something where it's like, oh, I hit the world's first red stripe, yellow belly, black pastel spot nose clown, which doesn't really roll off the tongue. Instead, you create its own brand, which is the Pompeii or the Magma Project, which it is overall, just that stuff I think was so cool. He did the same thing with the Kraken. He didn't actually know what all the genes were, but he still released it as the Kraken. So people think of it as the Kraken, not a GHI, red stripe, black pastel spot nose, or I don't even know what's all Wookiee something. But stuff like that, I think that he does really, really well. And it's about catching people's interests, making them want to know more, enticing them, but not quite giving it away all at once. And then when you finally do give it away, it's surprising yet inevitable.
Gotcha. So from a marketing perspective, what's something that you want to improve in what y'all are doing right now?
So I feel like that first year, we really, really focused on awareness. Like we were trying to make a bunch of content, try to get like our name out in front of as many people as possible. This year, we have shifted a little bit more not away from the awareness. We're focused more on the idea of trying to increase the brand value. And part of the way that people value brands, again, we're getting into like, we're doing a marketing live right now. But people buy from specific brands, and you can increase your brand value because they perceive that a brand was made for people like them, or they perceive that a brand was made for people that they want to be like. And when it comes to the reptile hobby, for most people, there are like the leaders of the industry, like Justin, like Billy, like Ozzy, like all of those people that are like, have been doing it for 20 years, and they have the amazing animals that we dream of making at one point. And if you can present your brand of like, I am like those people, you kind of increase your brand value. So this year we've been focusing a lot on collaborations. So we could talk about that later on, but we did the 15 minutes of lane contest, which was super fun and super cool. But I think that was kind of like the kickoff for a lot of that stuff. We are working on I'm going to loosely say this because I don't want it to sound pretentious and all that stuff, but we're kind of working on like a self-produced documentary.
I was going to ask you about it too. I was going to call it a documentary too. So
okay, yeah, I don't want to
sound pretentious at all.
It's not like we're going to do it on Netflix. So we're not like that cool. It's going to be on YouTube. But yeah, it's just the style of it. We want it to feel like a documentary. We want it to look professional. We want to do that. So we've been traveling around for filming different interviews for that. So we filmed with Shane, your sponsor. We actually need to go back and film more stuff with Shane because we need more content from that. We went up to New York and we filmed with Chris Eaton and Donato and Brian from Samson Snakeatorium. We went down to Justin's and we filmed down there in Canova. We got to figure out when we're going to get out there to Antoine and film with him. But there's lots of different things. There's other people that we want to include in it. At some point, we want to jump over to Chimera and film with them. We need to again, it's hard because some of these people live across the country and we got to reach out to them. But there's different stuff like that. So a lot of collaboration. And then at the end of the year, when the next contest is getting ready to start, that's when we want to like kind of launch the documentary.
Gotcha. So will the documentary be like just like one kind of like video, or will it be like a multi-part series?
It'll be one video. I hope to be, I think I'm like 4 or 5 scenes into it right now. I'd have to actually look at what I'm on, like where I'm editing at, but hopefully it's going to end up being between an hour and a half and 2 hours long, like a documentary that you would watch. So
gotcha. Yeah, that'll be dope, man. It's going to be really dope, man. Really looking forward to seeing that. And so how'd y'all come up with that idea? Like you just kind of like randomly after y'all entered the contest, or had y'all been thinking about that like even before the contest kicked off last year?
So I feel like that we've been thinking about doing a documentary for a while, just in general. So I like storytelling. That's like, I like all of that stuff. The storytelling aspect really excited me about it. I'd gotten into photography and videography. And then as I was getting more and more into videography, I was watching like various different documentary things. And there's this documentary called Meru. And Meru is a documentary about mountain climbers who are summiting the mountain Meru, which at the time of it had never been summited. It wasn't the tallest mountain in the world, but the way that people would have to climb it is it required multiple different climbing styles. And it's like if you were good at one style, you weren't good enough at the other one to finish it out. So it had never been summited. And it's like this documentary of this group of climbers who go to climb the mountain and they like fail like 3 or 4 different times and they can't climb it. And it's a really good documentary. I'm like, that would be so cool if we could do that for like Ball Python World. And Courtney's here.
Nice. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay. So we wanted to make a documentary. I thought it'd be super cool to do a Ball Python one, but we didn't know what the plot would be. So the documentary that we're working on right now, the topic is the ball python hobby, being a new breeder, trying to come into the hobby and how difficult and challenging it is. And then the plot through line for it is the 15 minutes of lame contest, like going throughout that, how like we kind of went about it, and not so much like a how-to to do it, but like our experiences going through it. And ultimately it's like interspersed with different interviews with like Justin or with Chris or with Donato or Shane, anybody like this. And then there's their interviews that are talking about the hobby itself. Like, why is it hard to become a successful new breeder? What are common pitfalls that people fall into? Stuff like that. And then it's also the other edge of it is us talking about how we got into the hobby and how we decided that we wanted to do the 15 minutes of lame just interview, and then the contest, and then our like experience throughout the contest all the way up until the end of it. So
nice. That's going to be really dope and really insightful. I definitely can't wait for that one. So obviously, like when I see your videos, like one of the first things that jumps out at me is kind of like that cinematic kind of effect, the good video quality. So talk a little bit about kind of like your thought process behind that, and speak to some of the equipment you're going to be using, like even with the documentary and stuff like that. So talk about the equipment y'all using and all of that.
Yeah. So equipment wise, for our 2 cameras that we primarily use is a Canon M50 Mark II with a 22 millimeter lens. So this is a pretty inexpensive camera in terms of cameras. Like it's an entry level mirrorless camera. I'm pretty sure you can get the whole setup that we have for that camera for $700 probably.
Okay.
But then we also have a Canon R7, which we just recently got. And then we use various different lenses for that one. But the one I like the most is a 35 millimeter prime lens. That one's significantly more expensive. That one's probably like a $2,500 camera, like all said to go.
You spent $500.
She didn't know what
I heard $25. I don't know what you're talking about.
So that's what we use for our cameras. Then we have honestly, way more important than your cameras are lighting. So like right now we have like a ring light that's helping us illuminate us right now, but we have some studio lights. We do different lighting techniques on lighting to like help get that cinematic look, but that's a huge part of it is lighting. We have some audio stuff that we, Sennheiser 600 mic, I think I just picked up. But anyways, so, no, I like
It's
that.
fine. I went to Target today.
Collectors coming out.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
is it challenging to kind of like replicate like the lighting and the quality, the production quality on the road when you do it, or is it just as easy? Or
I would say at the beginning, the first time we did an interview not at home where we traveled and we met up with someone and we set it up, the problem wasn't so much the lighting and the equipment as it was the process of getting an interview. We usually only interview each other. We usually only talk to each other, so it's really easy to for me to know, because I've heard Steven talk about this like documentary or this video style so many times. I know what he's looking for. So when you go and you find somebody else and they're just waiting for you to ask them questions, you just ask them questions, and it's hard to get them to like open up and tell a story instead of just giving you not single word answers, but like
short, concise answers.
Yeah, they'll give you like answers that are good, but it won't make sense to just edit into a video without hearing the question asked and everything like that. And the other thing for us was background.
Oh yeah.
We did it in like a motel the first time. It looked like a snuff film.
Yeah.
I think I can say that on there.
So what's your secret, going back to your previous comment, like what's your secret to get people to kind of like expound on their answers and kind of like tell more of a story with it versus like a concise response?
So this is something that we're still learning. Like I'm not a super strong interviewer, but what we've started doing is whenever we go down, like when we were talking to Justin or when we went up and interviewed Chris and them, it is like, hey, we're just going to set up the camera. We're just going to record and I'm just going to talk to you. Don't even worry about the camera. Don't even and at a certain point you forget that it's on.
Yeah.
And then that's when you really start getting the good stuff.
I think the thing that's hard is you'd say something like, oh, what got you into the hobby? And it would be like, oh, my friend. And you're like, if you were to edit that into a video, all you would have is them saying, oh, my friend. You wouldn't have the question. You wouldn't have the context. So that was something that we had to start saying, like, answer and repeat the question in your answer, stuff like that. Also, I just saw Bone Daddy's Serpents. Bone Daddy used to be my tag when I would play video games on the internet.
Oh yeah, Mario Kart. Yeah.
So I was like, well, yeah.
That's funny.
So I saw that. I was like, that's me.
So Steven and I, we were talking about like customer service and things of that nature earlier, and that's something I want to dive back into a little bit. And so talk about kind of y'all's approach to customer service and maybe like touch on a sale that was hard that ended up being successful and what you learned from that.
So I think one challenge for us is both of us running the accounts. So if one of us is busy, or if I'm busy, Steven will respond to that, and he knows how to respond to everyone, and he knows what we have in stock and everything. But I am like the primary person to do any sales and do most of the customer service. So sometimes he might be like, yeah, absolutely, we could totally do that. And I'll get home and I'll be like, we can't ship on a Friday, or something like that. Or, oh, we don't have big enough boxes to ship 2 snakes together right now. We'll have to ship both of them in separate boxes. And you told them that we could ship out today, So it's not bad. It's never bad. It's more like, that is like a challenge for us. So I prefer when I'm doing the majority of the customer service. And I think the only times we've had challenges in sales that we've made,
I would say payment plans. So not all payment plans, but the only ones I can think of have been payment plans, and it will be that the due date comes and they don't have enough money to finish paying it off, so we extend it. Something else comes, they don't have enough money, we extend it. Something else comes and we don't have enough money and we extend it. And it's so the way that we handle it is if you have a payment plan with us and like you can't complete it and all that stuff, you'll keep your deposit. Like your deposit's still there. Like we might be like, hey, we got to sell the snake. Like somebody else is going to buy it, but you still have your deposit. If you want to buy a snake from us in the future, you can use the money you put down in your deposit for that future snake.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So
do y'all have that come up a lot?
Yeah, I feel like last year, maybe 5 last season of people, and I think the majority of those snakes, maybe 4 out of those 5, were under $500.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I haven't had to deal with that yet. In fact, I mean, we're just really like producing like enough to even have a snake that would sell on a payment plan. This is our 3rd year, but the first year we only had like 1 clutch, and it was like low dollar stuff. Last year we had more clutches, like we had like 8 or 9 clutches, something like that, and it was a mix. It was like some stuff that was like a little higher price, but then some stuff that was lower. This year will be the first year where we got like expensive stuff, and so it'll be interesting to see like how that works in terms of like the payment plans and stuff like that, because I plan on doing payment plans, and I'll try to be as flexible as I can be, but at the same time it can just go on forever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah. When we started, we would see a lot of like on Morph Market payment plans, like, oh, nothing under $2,000 will go on. We only do payment plans for $2,000 or
it's like
higher.
Has to be paid off in 30 days.
And I was always like, that's not. I mean, people have stuff come up all the time, like that. I think people forget how much money you're asking for, especially people that aren't in the hobby. Just because you're used to spending $5,000 on one animal does not mean that is a normal thing for people to do. So when we first started, it was like, I think we should be more flexible with our payment plans. Yes, like if it's over 1,000, you can take like a certain amount of months, but if it's just like, if it's under 1,000, then it needs to be like paid off within like 60 days or 30 days or something like that. And very quickly, I think we realized why people put those really strict payment plans. And honestly, it's because it's uncomfortable to hassle people for money. It's uncomfortable. It's like emotional labor to be like, oh, I feel bad, but we
would be like, hey, will you follow up on this payment plan? You'd be like, I did it last time. Can you do like
you do it? Because you feel bad because people do have stuff come up, but at the same time, it's like, hey, I could have sold this snake already. Like, I could have had this money and gone.
No, 100%. I totally get that. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be like a bill collector, right? I just want to be done with it. Yeah, so I'm definitely not looking forward to like payment plans going bad. I might reach out to y'all for some advice if something comes up.
I would say, so one thing I've noticed, again, it's not every single situation, but one of the things that we put in last season now is we don't do any payment plans for under $500 anymore.
Okay.
Like if it's $500 or less, it has to be paid in full.
Okay.
So that was one, because before we would do it would be a $200 snake, and they'd be like, can I put $40 down? And they would put the $40 down, but then they wouldn't actually have the money to finish paying it off. And we just felt bad. Like,
right.
So.
And Beast Morphs, that's kind of what we do, where it would be like every month on whatever day, every 30 days, make a payment and for the higher price animals. And again, every once in a while, there's something that comes up and they can't. And after a couple months, it's you just have to say like, hey man, I could sell this to somebody else.
Yeah, you got to draw the line.
Yeah, but we do offer like, and then at a certain point, the animal is big,
and it's worth more than what they would.
Yeah, you're like, I could hold this back. I think that's actually what we ended up doing with the one that the more expensive one that had defaulted. It was like, hey, she's 600 grams now. I'm keeping her.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. How big was she when the payment plan started?
They had put her on hold, and they did awesome. Like they had one of them had like lost a job and all it, but they had, I think it was $3,000 total. They had put $500 down to begin with, and I think they did 2 payments, so it was $1,500 they had gotten up to, and then they had lost a job, and they're like, we're not going to be able to finish paying this off. And I was like, at that point, is like, no, we got you. We'll refund. Like we refunded everything except for that initial one, that initial deposit. And then their initial deposit, we're like, you can use it this upcoming season when we have something. And I'm like, and I'm stoked because now I get to hold her back. There's a red striped yellow belly head sunset female.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
Stuff comes up. I'm not mad at people defaulting. It's more I don't like when people default. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel bad. So I just don't want to even put myself in that position.
No, 100%. What are y'all payment plan tiers like? How do y'all do it?
Depends how nice you are to me.
Yeah, kind of. But usually what we do is if it's like, let's say it's a $3,000 snake, we will do like 20%, 25%. I don't remember exactly what it is up front. And then every month until it's paid off is the another 20 something percent. So 4 months.
Okay.
5 months.
Yeah, so that's pretty generous.
And I mean, of the sales we've made, very few people. I think there was one person who's like, "Hey, I've got $500 now. I'm going to pay the
next
other
month.
2,500 in 4 days." You know, like a lot of times, people don't use that full amount of time. But boy, isn't it nice when it's just over and done.
I mean, some people like for like a $5,000 snake, and you want to do a payment plan, like you got to pay it off in like 2 weeks or 30 days or something like that. So that's definitely generous.
Yeah. We actually it was 2 days ago, we just shipped it out. They got it yesterday, but just sold a double het sunset ultramel male and a sunset female, which I really wanted to hold back.
Yeah, I don't think Steven, I honestly didn't even realize she was available. I thought
she wasn't.
I just assumed we were holding her back. And then Steven, I was at the Taylor Swift concert and Steven calls me. I'm like, "Sir, no, not right now. I think I'm gonna sell her."
So they had wanted it, and there was also like all up front, and they were awesome people, and it was great sale. And I was just like, we had that sunset female available to begin with, and we have a lot of other sunset stuff. So, but yeah, I like I said, I like buying animals and I like holding back animals.
That's my role.
When he was like, "Okay, we'll sell her," but now I get to hold back a banana sunset. We have a super banana sunset. Why do we need a banana sunset?
So, Gordon, while you were going, we were talking about social media a little bit, and he was telling me like how you started y'all social media, and you're the sole reason for y'all's success.
Yeah, he likes to say that.
I was watching one of y'all YouTube videos, and y'all spoke about unconditional value. Can y'all talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's a video on marketing.
So, unconditional value is that when you are, I'm going to say like providing marketing, but it can be content like this right now. Unconditional value is when you are giving somebody something of value, and this can be entertainment, this can be education. I don't remember what all of them are, but you are providing it to somebody else for absolutely free. And it's not tainted by the idea of like, if you sign up for my course, you can get the full course, but we're going to give you a teaser right now. It's like, no, unconditional value. You get all of it right now. As much knowledge as we have, you also have. And if you can provide that unconditional value to people, people recognize it and they are thankful. They are like, that's awesome. They are giving us so much that they don't have to. I want to support them too.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, I'm learning a lot, man. I've been watching a lot of y'all videos lately, and I'm definitely learning a lot. So I appreciate y'all putting those videos out there and providing that unconditional value.
It's all been Steven for quite a while. The last time I did a video, I had a stomach bug and I got sick while I was filming it. So now, you know, like when you eat something and it makes you sick and you don't want to eat it anymore. That's what happened to me with YouTube videos. I'm like, I don't want to do it. So I'll get back into it.
I'm going to call out a hypocrisy on the reptile industry really quick. So I will make a video that I will talk, just me talking, no snake in the video at all, just because I didn't grab a snake for the B-roll. It is me talking, just my face, for 45 minutes. And then the very next video, Courtney will do an intro, and it's like 40 seconds long. And they'll be like, it would have been good if that girl didn't talk for 40 seconds in the beginning. And it's like...
Yeah, but you're talking about interesting things, and I'm talking about boring things. So that's what it is. Yeah.
But yeah,
that's wild.
Nobody here cares about the Taylor Swift concert, which I've brought up 3 times now.
But yeah, I just.
So, have y'all done a YouTube video on risk management, like within your business?
I don't think so. Not directly on like risk management. I know we did one on like specialization versus diversification when it comes to it. But let's talk about risk management. That sounds awesome.
So if you did do a video on risk management, I know there's all kinds of risks and things out there to mitigate and kind of factor in, and some of them are even like kind of like location dependent. Like for example, like being in Florida, you got to think about hurricanes and stuff like that, and just inclement weather like that. So if y'all did a risk management video, I assume to get like kind of like the largest draw and the largest amount of eyes and make it unconditional value for the most amount of people, y'all would probably want to do something that's like general across the board. So if you put together like a risk management YouTube video, what are some of the topics you would touch on and why, and kind of how would you go about that?
I think the biggest things that we would keep in mind are issues that we have experienced ourselves and know how to like handle in the future. Talking about the big things like generators. You got to have your generator all the time. Like, it is super, super important. And I think a lot of people realize that later.
Once you need it.
Yeah. So then there are other things, like I know, like one thing that we haven't done at the moment, because there's currently eggs in the incubator, but we need to put like water bottles in our incubator to like help maintain temperature in case power were to go out. But when you have eggs in the incubator, you don't want to add water into it, and we just haven't gotten into it yet. But like, if something were to happen, we would be like, damn, I really wish I'd had those water bottles in the incubator. Generators, super important. Water leaks, if you take care of your own rodents, we have experienced those, and we know how bad they can be and how terrible they can be.
I was sick when that happened, and Courtney had to deal with rat soup by herself.
Oh wow. I've heard about it. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with anything like that, but I heard it's terrible.
It's terrible. It's the worst thing ever. And then we had like a leak later on that I caught it as it started. So there was water in it, and we had a couple swimming babies, but everyone was fine. We didn't have any casualties in that one. But I was like, all right, it's your turn, because I did the last one when they had marinated in that water. And Stephen was,
how much did you lose?
It was just one tub.
One tub. Okay. They had pulled the spigot off of the line both times. And then Stephen was able to figure out what was happening. So hopefully we shouldn't ever have that issue again. But
gotcha.
But yeah, I feel like that there's like those operational risks of like, if this goes wrong, it could kill animals, it could burn down something.
Rodents in your snake shop.
Oh yeah, like we don't keep any rodents. We used to, but we had a rodent get out, and then it's like, okay, this could present a risk of them chewing through a probe. If it chews through a probe and it's the wrong probe, the thermostat could fail in the on position and kill all of the snakes in that rack, and that's terrible. And that we ended up having another rodent get out like 2 weeks later. I
think what actually happened is 2 rodents got out, and
we found one.
So what we normally do, we usually do 3-to-1 colonies, and this is a colony we had received from someone, and it had been a 4-to-1 colony, and it just did not occur to me when I found the missing rodent. I was like, okay, there's the 3 females, the 1 male, we're good. I didn't realize there was a 4th female roaming around.
Gotcha.
But yeah, days.
So they had chewed through that one that had stayed out that we didn't know about. We saw it like the next week. They had chewed through an incubator probe, and I was like, "Nope, that's it." Like there was nothing in it. There was nothing in the incubator.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, but it was like, oh nope, that's exactly what it is. We got to get all the rodents out. Yeah. So
we need to build a rodent shed. But I think Beast Morph said checking thermostats and heat tape. Yes, absolutely. In
100%.
Dead of winter, I feel like this year, which was like 30 degrees here. I had walked in and I was like, my feet are cold, the floor's kind of cold, and we checked temperatures, and it was the bottom row of the rack was like 10 degrees cooler than the rest of them. So we had to because it's easy to check your temperatures in the like eye level.
Yeah, exactly, the eye level stuff.
Sometimes when you take a random sample, it's not very random. So we ended up moving a lot of snakes up.
Yep. But yeah, I feel like that those are all like operational risks. I'm sure there's stuff that we're forgetting. There's also, we're very conscious of marketing risks. So we try our best to stay out of things that could potentially risk our brand. So like we just stay away from controversial topics and like public forums and things like that as much as we possibly can.
Same here.
Yeah, I think one thing that gets into, I think a lot of people have gotten into sponsorships, and I think that can be a challenge, like talking to each other about, would we ever like want to sponsor somebody? Would we ever accept a sponsorship if somebody offered? And it's so scary to think that you can put your name on somebody else casually and end up with like looking bad or having like
Right.
if somebody were to do something stupid, you could sit here and be like, dang, that was stupid, I'm not going to get into that. But if somebody that you told everybody was cool does something stupid, now you have the responsibility of like doing something. Which
exactly like we, as I mentioned behind the scenes, and as you saw, like we just started sponsorships this month, and we got 2 sponsors now. And so like now it's not only like what we do affects our business, what we do affects the folks who assign their name to us. And so that's a big responsibility, and it's something that should be taken seriously. And so definitely
you don't want your sponsors being crazy either. I know that.
Yeah.
Shane, loose cannon.
He's a wild one.
Yeah.
We had to sign off on some papers. You can't do this.
Here's the link.
I think another risk mitigation, all that stuff, is like there's a risk that you can buy an animal and it doesn't pan out. That by the time that the animal's ready to breed, it's worth a tiny, tiny fraction of it, and you're barely going to be able to make your money back. And that's 100% of a risk. Again, we've talked about not exactly this, but the idea of like diversification versus specialization. Diversification is a strategy to mitigate risk, because if you have, let's say, 10 different projects and a little bit in each one, you can have one project do really bad, but then your other projects make up for it. I personally think that the ball python industry is like the one of the few areas where diversification actually increases your risk.
To a certain extent. I mean, I feel like some diversification is important.
Yeah. So the reason why I think that diversification increases your risk in ball pythons is that ball pythons are depreciating assets, not appreciating assets. So across the board, the exception is that a morph gains in value as it goes on. The rule is that they depreciate in value. So if you've diversified, it's more likely that you're going to have a bunch of losers versus in that one winner. And instead, if you focus on the thing that you are so passionate about, the work that you put in to promoting that morph can make that the winner.
I think that is a good idea, but I do think there has to be some kind of diversification, because if not, you could end up in the scaleless project.
True.
And the lack of diversification can completely tank. So just because he sounds confident doesn't mean he's always right.
Yeah, both of those are great points. Yeah, and I agree with both of y'all.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that. Focus
diversification. Yeah.
Like, who is it? CD?
Like kind of the way that I think about it, and maybe focus diversification is a way to like describe it. But like for me with my projects, I try to pick projects that kind of like work well together, so I can kind of like mash them together like as I go and as I develop. And so that way I kind of like, I'm working a little bit in hypo, I'm working in DG, I'm working in clown, I got some pod stuff and whatnot, and a lot of that stuff goes good together too, and so I can kind of like mix and match. That's kind of my strategy with it.
Yeah, 100%. And we do something similar. We have 3 main projects, and our goal is to put them all together in certain ways.
That's how we get by on getting whatever we want. It's like we get whatever we want as long as it's Het Clown. Basically.
Yeah.
JD Constrictor designs.
Right? What's that?
She's just trying to think. The JD Constrictors, Xanthic.
The TSK Xanthic. Like if you go to his table, it's all black and white. Like everything is a beautiful Xanthic, and like that is a super focused, like person.
Gotcha.
And it works.
Gotcha. So I want to chat a little bit about the industry, and so starting off, I want to talk a little bit about Morph Market. As you know, Morph Market is under new management, and so it's like a lot of changes and stuff. So if you were the new management, right? So you were sitting in that seat. What's one feature that y'all would change about Morph Market?
So I think that That's a very good question. So I think that I'd try to understand who the target market of Morph Market is. And right now, I think that the target market of Morph Market has been, that doesn't mean it can't change, is breeders. And I would think about ways that could alleviate pain points for breeders that are using the platform. And maybe one of those is like payment processing. And I think that that is something they are working on, just because it makes it easier for breeders to work with their customers. They don't have to worry about maintaining Square and PayPal and Venmo and Cash App, and then dealing with like those platforms being like, you can't do live animal sales, so we're going to freeze your account. Like, I think that that'd be one. I think they are working on payment processing.
Yeah, they are. He mentioned it either last week or the week before. I think Antoine made a post, kind of like a joking post, but it was like, just hear me out, Morph Market Pay or something like that. Yeah. And then they commented and said they were working on it slowly, but they're working on it. It's a lot that goes into it, just like because if you do it, obviously it's got to be using like a credit card. And so once you use like a credit card, then you got all the PCI stuff that you got to do, like the payment card industry standards. You got all that stuff you got to keep up with. And y'all in banking too, so y'all probably heard about like all that stuff. And so it's a lot that goes into it, but it'd be dope depending on how they set it up and how they had to do it. So they're probably just like going through like and doing their due diligence, checking off the boxes that they need to check off.
Yeah. I know one thing that I would change, and I don't know if I would necessarily change this if I were the one who owned Morph Market, but something I wish they would change, and this is going to sound kind of goofy, but if you look at like a page of sales, it does not say like male, female. It just has the symbol for male, female. So I was hoping to scrape. I tried to scrape the data off Morph Market once, and it was completely useless because there's no male or female. There's only the symbol and like the like algorithm, the like software I was using wouldn't recognize like
this picture is male. Yeah, this picture is female.
Yeah. So I wanted to scrape the data so I could see sales and like fluctuations in like pricing and like number of sales, number of animals available, things like that. But it would have been that I would have had to hand key every single thing, and I wasn't going to do that. So
that's a lot of work.
I know, like the holdback rack, they'll do stuff like that where they will like go in and calculate individually, like they will write down the stuff. And I just wanted to scrape it and just get it all into an Excel spreadsheet or a database.
Yeah, that's one of the first things. Sorry to cut you off, but that's one of the first things like that like really hooked me onto that show. Is like when Jessica whipped out a spreadsheet. I was like, oh shit.
I do not have the. I think either I wouldn't have the patience to do all of that, or I would hyper fixate on it and I would do every single one until I called out of work the next day.
Yeah, I definitely like kind of like their take on like talking about various subjects. It's dope. Yeah, I was super impressed. I was like, yeah, that's right up my alley. Let's be a nerd.
Well, so what's really interesting to like be able to say like, oh, this is like how much the number of this gene has increased in the marketplace over the past year.
If you could be like, I don't know, what's the market cap of the Sunset Project? How much money has been invested in the Sunset Project since it got started? Like,
I would love that data. I would love that information.
And while Morph Market isn't like a perfect data set because like sales happen outside of Morph Market, the posted price is not necessarily the selling price. Is the best that we got. Like, hands down.
100%. So, what would you change?
What would I change? I would make that data available.
Okay.
See, that's
the main thing.
I think I had who had it before Chris? What was his name?
John.
John. I think I had tried to message John one time to be like, "Hey, can I get some data?" And I didn't hear back. But then like, 2 weeks later, they announced the Switch, and I was like, "Oh, he doesn't care about me asking."
I know they're working on the Morph Market Premium. I don't know like what all will be involved with like the Morph Market Premium, but maybe we'll have some access to some data that's easily pulled.
So they are planning, or they're actually started. They're spending like $1,000 a day on Google Ads to draw traffic.
I saw that.
Do you think that that's a good thing?
Do
Do you think that pulling a bunch of people who aren't part of the reptile hobby to Morph Market, because if you are part of the reptile hobby, you already know about Morph Market, do you think that that will increase in sales? Or do you think that that will be like Courtney when she first went to it, where she found Morph Market and she's like, this is weird?
It depends what the Google ad is. If the Google ad is good enough and it like explains what you're going to.
I didn't know if it would be like you go there and you're like, wait, how do I pay for this?
Look, I'm scared of eBay. So like...
So when I first saw the $1,000 a day, like the first thing I thought about, like, wow, $1,000 a day, that's $365,000 a year. And what's the ROI on that? And like, how do you measure it? I hope it works. I don't know that when you start thinking about like the target customers, it's not going to bring like investment Isaacs immediately. I think it's going to bring like some of those pet level people probably on that onset, but those folks can morph into investment Isaacs and beyond. And so that can be a good thing in the long term. I think it's going to be a while before we can like clearly say whether this worked or whether it didn't, but I definitely hope it does work.
I think so. I will occasionally get Facebook ads for Dynasty, and I feel like those ads are like if I know I did because that's who I bought from when I bought my first pet. When I was on Morph Market, it was like all over the place. I didn't know what the morphs were. Like there was a picture of a snake and you're telling me that it's $10,000 like that. Incredibly intimidating for someone who had no idea what was going on. And then I found Dynasty and it was like, here's a pretty snake and it's $200. And I'm like, fantastic. Send it to my house. Thank you. Pay. And I could do it all right there. And as somebody who didn't know what I was doing, I knew not to go to Petco, but that's about it. Dynasty was absolutely perfect. And we got a fantastic snake. And we've gotten another snake from him before too. I know like Inked Lady, they've talked about getting like the mystery grab bag from him when they first started. I think that experience is great for a new pet owner or a new snake owner. And I do think that Morph Market can be intimidating. We've had people message us like, hey, I see your thing on Morph Market. I don't know what to do. Like, do I message you on there? Should I message you on here?
Somebody found us thing on Morph Market, went to our website and bought it off of our website.
Yeah, we've had that. Yeah. But then at the same time, the website sales stress me as a seller out.
Why is that?
Well, because
you can pay on the website and you don't actually have to send us a message. So then I'm just
like, oh, we just made a sale. I have to communicate with them after the fact. I don't have an idea. And that is great for the customer because that's what they're used to. That's their Amazon experience. That's their online shopping experience. But as the seller, it's pretty stressful.
So this year, I think what we're going to do is anything that we put on our website, which will be like pet level animals, we're not going to put on Morph Market, so we don't run into the possible like thing where somebody inquires on Morph Market, we're working with that customer, and then somebody buys it out from underneath them on our website.
Oh, you pick up locally from Dynasty. I like Dynasty.
Yeah, I picked up a couple from Dynasty, probably like in 2020, like early on.
Yeah,
I picked up a couple from them.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny. Kat and Ro from Inked Lady, they did the mystery grab bag when they first started. I just think that's so funny. Like,
I remember seeing somebody drop a YouTube video doing the mystery grab bag.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so funny. The idea of like Pokemon cards, but a snake.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
You ever go to the Dollar? Oh, sorry.
No, say again.
I said, do you ever go to the Dollar Tree as a kid and they have like the brown paper bag that's stapled shut for like $1 and there's like boy, girl, and you get to pick your mystery like toy? And
no, I never did that.
We did that when we were kids. Like once, like if we were good at school, our mom would let us buy $1 paper lunch bag and we'd have like a single Barbie or, you know, like
a car.
Yeah.
No, I never done that. That sounds pretty cool though. So staying on the topic of the industry, and we've touched on this a little bit, but how do you think the industry is going to evolve over, say, like the next decade, and how are y'all positioning Leviathan for those changes?
So actual answer, I don't know over the next decade. We haven't been in for very long. What I think is going to end up happening, I think what's not already going to, I think it's happening right now, and I think that we're all doing it. I think last year and the year before, people really started focusing on recessives and double recessives, and a bunch of people made double head. Like if you came in during COVID and you hear, oh, it's all moving to recessives, you buy a bunch of recessives, then you hear like, oh, it's going double multi recessive animals. You're like, all right, I'm going to pair my clown to my desert ghost. I'm going to make double heads. And what I think is going to happen is this year and next year, everybody who came in COVID maybe the year after too, will start hitting their double visuals. And when they make their double visuals, because a big portion of the community came in during COVID, they may not have very many genes in them, and they're going to be looking for stuff to expand those double visual projects. So like combo visuals that are het for one of their things that they're working on. So that way they can work those other genes in. So I think that 3-ish years from now, combo visuals that at least have a het are going to be really in demand. I think 5 years from now, it's going to be those double visuals that are combos are going to be really in demand. I don't really know beyond 5 years, at least for animals. I think that people are going to get, I think we've seen it already. People get better and better, and they treat it more professionally as the hobby matures.
I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a little bit of a drawback where right now there's a lot of animals available, and so like today I went to. I took the baby to Petco so she could see all the fish and stuff, and I saw in their like $100, $119 fancy ball python. It was a hypo, and I was like, oh. People are wholesaling like hypos and clowns to like Petco now. And that's kind of crazy to me because 3 years ago, a single gene clown from a breeder was like $300. A pastel clown female was $450. Now you would see that in the fancy ball python
for $100.
For $100. So I think we're going to see a lot of people who bought those single gene clowns for $300, breeding it, trying to sell it for what they bought it for, not being able to, cutting the price getting lower and lower and lower on animals that aren't necessarily difficult to hit, and things that we came into the hobby being the like not mid-range, but like the cheap but still expensive snakes will be the pastel of when we came in, not the enchi, the cinnamon, those genes that you kind of take for granted and see for $100 in a enclosure. That's going to be stuff that was, a little higher when we got in there, $400, $300.
Yeah.
So a lot of people now have been given the advice to focus on the higher end stuff because that's what's selling, that's what's in demand, and so more and more people are kind of like putting on that investor hat and investing in those higher end projects. Do you think that we'll come to like a time, like probably in the near future, to where all those folks who bought those higher end hatchlings, they're now breeding them, and now the market's kind of flooded, so to say, with like the higher end type stuff? And what do you think about that piece of it?
So I think, like a single gene sunset will be where we came in and saw like a single gene pied or something at some point.
Yeah, we don't know when, but at some point that's going to happen.
But your spot nose, sunset clown, all those combos, those are going to hold value,
Gotcha. Okay.
I was just going to say, I think that the people who are buying into high end, they're going to make higher end babies than if they would buy into like just a pied or just a clown right now. But those prices are going to fall. And when they are falling, there's going to be a different high end. And at least the trajectory that it looks like right now, that high end. So right now, I would say the high end is combo recessives or multi-recessives in various different forms. And it depends on exactly what's going on. Like high combo recessives, or multi-recessives. I think the next high end is going to be combo multi-recessives. And then it'll be or combo double recessives. And it's going to be like combo triple recessives and so on and so forth. When
Gotcha.
and it's just going to keep growing. Like, but the one thing that I have noticed is the more the more segmented you break down your breeding projects, the less of the market there is. So let's say that we're all in, everybody in this chat, all of us are in like $20,000 ball python projects, but they are all like quad recessive projects. The likelihood that we overlap is going to be very, very small. We might have a project where we're working the Sunset Clown DG Ultramel or something like that, and you're working the DG Clown Pied Xanthic, and they're completely different projects, and we can't actually sell to each other very well. I think that that's going to be something that happens, and I think that that's another reason why you gotta.
That's a challenge with all the multi-recessives, but if you are working in like Clown Freeway, then that's Yellow Belly and Asphalt, which sorry, like that's something that could cross the line because you're like, oh, well, I could add Clown and it also has Yellow Belly in it. Like, that's awesome. But we've seen the way Asphalt prices have dropped since genetic testing came out, just wildly. Animals that we bought for like $4,000, well, we're seeing the same animal go now for like $1,200. And that's hard to watch.
Yeah, definitely. Have y'all started genetic testing?
Yes.
So we have not gotten a single successful test.
Which is successful. Us knowing that they're not het is successful.
I guess what I mean. What I mean is every single test that we've sent in where we thought an animal had something, it has come back negative. They have crushed everyone's dream. We thank them for it. It was, we have like a spot nose
black pastel, 66% het clown. She didn't prove het
she
clown.
Did not prove het clown. So we would have paired her to a clown this year and we would have gotten black pastel, spot nose, het clowns, what we thought she would, so glad that we did not pair her to.
Yeah, it's good to know you can make informed decisions and like choose the animal that you want to work with kind of based on knowing whether or not it has the specific genetics that you want to see. So I think that is an advantage. Even if it does come out to where it wasn't het for something you was hoping it was het for, at least ahead of time.
And the folks over there, they're super nice and stuff. We've been sending in some sunset sheds and stuff, and they're very grateful and positive about all of that. So
I think they're going to talk about it on their podcast because they just started a podcast, RGI. I think they're going to talk about it on this one because they had asked us if it was all right if they talk about us like helping them out with the sunset sunset test.
Dope. How far away are they from?
Close.
Like, do they think
they're
pretty close
by the end of the summer?
Okay, sweet. Nice.
They have Ultramel.
Yeah, but they haven't.
There's two lines of Ultramel. There's one that's like the majority of it, and then there's another line that like it is Ultramel and it will make Ultramels, but they don't have a test for that second line. So you could have an Ultramel, send it into them, or they don't offer the test publicly right now, but you could have an Ultramel, visual Ultramel, send it into them. And if both of the Ultramel genes are that one line that they don't actually have a test for, it would come back that it was negative. I
heard about that one.
Mm-hmm. I think they were doing it, but I think that they're not compatible.
What's that?
What is the one that everyone thinks is Ultramel?
Monarch.
DG. Okay, I thought, So I was gonna say is one of the lines of Monarch.
Yeah. They did find out.
DG and Enhancer. They said they're running the test on those, and they seem like they're pretty much the same thing. So they think they're different lines.
Yeah, they said it's genetically the same.
It's like banana and
Coral Glow.
It's like, I think what they say is like when the animals were found, they found an adult banana and baby coral glows. So of course those coral glows look better, but it's been so long and people have bred these animals in and sold and done all these things. So yeah, it might be now that coral glows are a nicer line of banana, but genetically they're the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we've had just with sunsets, like there's polymorphism across the board. Crazy. You can have we hatched out our first two visual sunsets this last year. And if I had held them in front of you and I said, this sunset has vanilla or this sunset has fire and this one's a regular sunset, you're like, of course it is.
Yeah, they're so different.
But they are both.
And we would post them because we were like, oh, we really like this brighter one. We really like this like more orange one, and we would share it and be like, do you like the light or the dark? And we'd have a 50-50
Equal
split.
Of what
Gotcha.
people like.
So, you know.
That spot nose sunset clown that Justin had.
Oh, when we
That was
saw it in
insane.
person. Oh,
you saw it? Oh yeah.
we saw it as soon as it
Insane.
had its first shed. Because we were down there and
Oh, nice.
Oh, I was so stoked about
So,
it.
we were Josh he was Gen Z Reptiles who does their social media. We were waiting for Justin to get back from like a meeting, and he was like, "Here, you want to see some animals?" And he pulls out that
Spot no sunset clown.
It seems like I can't take a picture of that, can I? And he's like, "No, you can't." but you can.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm so stoked for the Sunset Clown project. It is wild.
That's the dopest like sunset combo that I've seen.
In person. Oh, it was so nice.
Yeah, I wish I could see it in person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's insane.
Nice, yeah. All right, and so for somebody just now coming into the business and they want to breed, what's some starter advice you would give them?
I think the question that we get the most often that is the most challenging for me, and sometimes the most frustrating for me, we get this question so often, and it is like, what should I breed? And it's like, I cannot tell you that. I cannot, like, what should I go to college for? It's like, I don't know. What do you like? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? You have to find something that makes you excited, that you're going to want to keep seeing. You can't say like, hey, what are the best genes to be in right now? First of all, there's so many. I don't know anything about you. I can't tell you.
Let's say if I were to say somebody's like, oh, Sunset's my favorite project. Sunset's the best. More if you need to invest in Sunset, and you don't like Sunset, and you invest in it, when it comes time for you to produce babies, if you even make it that far, I'll 100% outsell you because I'm more passionate about the project. Like, so you gotta find the thing that you love, because if you love
100%.
it, like
I think a lot of people like campfire and stuff, but I don't know if anybody likes it as much as Troy from Balls and Strikes.
Oh,
he is so excited about it, and he loves it, and he does all kinds of stuff. But when I think of Troy, I specifically think of the bonfire and, you know, all of the things that he is so excited about making, because he talks about it a lot, and he produces amazing animals working towards that project. And if he wasn't so passionate about it, when he would miss, he would just be like, dang it, missed. Oh, well, I'll try again. Let me just put these up for sale and, you know, not even worry about it. And then we'll have other people who are like, so I want to do pied. And it's like, okay, do you have any animals? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, are you going to buy animals? And they're like, which ones should I buy? And I'm like,
we're not really in the pied project.
I cannot tell you that. I cannot tell you. It's like, I don't think you could ask any question. Like, if somebody came up to you and was like, what house should I be? What house should I buy? And it's like, do you want to live in a city? What state do you live in? What do you have kids? Do you want kids?
Adam.
Do you have pets?
Not my coworker. Like, no.
We have a friend who just bought a house, and his name is Adam, and I'm like, he didn't ask us that, did he? No. Sorry, Adam.
Proper rules, Adam. What's good, bro?
It's actually hard. Every once in a while, Stephen will be like, Adam did this thing today. And I'm like, Adam from Proper Royals? Why was he acting? And I call him Adam from Proper Royals because I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
He's actually going to be the guest on the show next week. So definitely looking forward to that. So y'all make sure y'all check that out.
Where's the opening act?
Yeah.
We got the headliner coming up next.
Yeah.
So thinking about going back to 2020, 2019, when y'all first started, and kind of fast forwarding to now, and kind of a caveat, this is kind of a personal question. So how have you evolved as individuals, and maybe even touch on what going so hard in this business as a couple has done for your relationship?
Were we engaged already, or
did
we get engaged?
I think we got engaged afterwards. No. I don't remember.
Okay, so we weren't married when we first started. We had one kid, and did we live together? Yeah, because we had Amos.
Yeah,
okay, sorry. So our personal lives, looking back, because I'll look at pictures from back then, and Steven's son was like 4 or 5 years old, and now he's going on 8, and the kids changed so much between that time. When we first got my snake, we made him practice holding snakes by holding a toy snake for like to show that he could hold the toy without dropping it or without. And now it's like I couldn't even, like, if I tried to do that with him, he'd be like, get away from me. Like, I know how to hold an animal, it's fine. It's funny, stuff like that. And now we have another child and stuff like that, so that's a huge like change as far as like traveling for like shows. I'm saying like a lot. We've learned a lot. I think our hobbies have changed a lot since then. Not just the snakes, but we do different, like
a hobby. So, and I've talked about this in other things before. The hobby that I had right before this was gambling on short-term expiry stock options. And I think that I'm still doing that. I'm just doing it with snakes. And because it's not a random nebulous piece of paper that says after 5 o'clock on Friday, this is worthless, it's a snake, that makes me feel a little bit better about it. But
you got more control on this.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I would say that we, evolution that we had, we started off keepers, 100% keepers. Then it was like hobbyists that weren't even really part of the community at all. And then we got exposed to the community and
took over.
The community's been so warm and welcoming. It's probably the only hobby that I've personally ever really had where I felt 100% just like accepted, like I fit in, and like we make so many friends just in the hobby. Like,
so Steven has had more hobbies than I think anybody else I've ever met. Like, he decided to do something and he spends all of his money on it, and then it's not that he spends all his money, he sells everything from his last hobby. So like if he's into paintball, he's going to sell all his guitars and get into paintball. Now he's into Legos, I'm going to sell my paintball equipment and I'm going to buy a bunch of Lego sets. I'm just waiting for you to sell all your paintball stuff to buy Pokemon cards now. So he goes all in for hobbies. And he was writing at one point, and this is just a funny story, but he went to like a writing group that was organized on a like forum online, what, Discord online.
So I grew up in Illinois. I moved to the South right after college. I didn't have any friends down here.
It is, Charlie. It's an addictive personality.
I didn't know anybody down here. I had no friends. I was pretty much a loser. So I like am trying to like meet up with other writers in like a local writing group. So I go to this meetup and it's at this person's house, which is fine. Not that big of a deal. It was this lady apparently had even less friends than I had. So she had set up her birthday. So a bunch of these random strangers came thinking they were going to a writing group, and it was her birthday party, and this adult woman's birthday party.
She had a birthday cake.
And
wow.
And so they're like, I'm here to talk about writing. And it's like, well, you have to sing me happy birthday first.
That's it.
So Steven left that hobby because
so one thing that happened on that one is because my like master's, like the not dissertation, not thesis, but like because it was creative writing, I had to write a novel for it. Mm-hmm. And I had to do it at the end so quickly that I feel like I burned myself out on it, and then that got me out of the groove of writing.
But before we got into snakes, I know like my uncle is super big into Legos. He builds Lego sets, and their Lego sets are not cheap. I don't know if you.
Oh no, not at all.
No, they're like $100, $200, $300 for like a set of Legos, and I could not comprehend how he would spend so much money on, like, to me, a toy, a puzzle, a game, and then work on it, build it, put it aside, and buy another one. No matter how long that took, it could not comprehend what made him so happy about that. Like it just didn't make sense to me. Now, yeah. And so now that we're into the snakes, I'm like, get this man a Lego set. He needs as many Lego sets as he can get, because it is your hobby, and it's completely different than. It's hard to explain. We
just, like in the last month, got into the hobby of collecting Pokemon cards, and Pokemon cards are significantly less expensive than snakes.
But what ends up happening is you're like, oh, I'm used to having to spend $1,000 plus on a snake. So you're like, oh, $20 for a Pokemon card? Give me 10 of them. And now you've spent the money again.
Yeah.
So explain like the Pokemon card collection, because I never did it. So it's just like buying a bunch of cards and it's all the Pokemon characters on it, and like some are worth more than others, or some are more rare than others. How's it work?
Yeah, so it's again like it's something that I've never cared about. So again, our 7-year-old, I've bought him countless packs of Pokemon cards throughout the years, and I just give it to him. He opens them, and I don't know what happens to him. They end up on the floor. I throw them away. Nobody, like, never thought about it. Other kids would come over, and I'm like, "Hey, do you want this? It's like kind of shiny. Here, it's yours. Take it. I don't care about it." And now that we decided to like get into this hobby, I'm like, "Don't let a child touch this toy. It's mine. I have to put it in a special plastic case."
But yeah, so like the way that it works, there's different ways you can like do it. So there's a game. I don't even know how to play the game for the thing. We literally just collect. So there's different sets that like came out at various different times, and like a set might have 100 cards in it. So what we do is we're like, all right, I'm gonna work on this set. I want to get all of the cards from this set.
So you have cards that are common, uncommon, rare, whatever. And
Gotcha.
So the common ones are in every pack. You're getting a bunch of duplicates of them, but then there's 2 cards that are like rare or uncommon in the pack. And so those are the ones that you want the most. And eventually what ends up happening is if you're opening packs, you eventually kind of get hi Luke, I love you too. You get to the point where you're opening just duplicate after duplicate after duplicate, and you're only opening it for the one card. So what we do is we put them in these little binders, and they're numbered in order, or they're numbered and in order. It's like, here's one that we haven't gotten yet for this set, so we still have the proxy in that one. And then here's a page where we've gotten all of them, and that's exciting. So
nice.
To us, I don't care how much these cards are worth, because
we're just trying to complete the set.
I need them, and I will not give them away even if they're $1,000, because then this would not be. I'd give it away if it's $1,000, but it doesn't really matter how valuable it is. And then have you ever? And then you give it to your child, and they fold it in half and they stick it in their pocket because they love it, and you're like, "That's great, buddy! Glad it makes sense." But that's what it's for, because it's a $4 toy.
But yeah, so we just recently got into Pokemon.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha. Cool.
Luke, really?
We know.
See, give you a hard time.
Luke has more Pokemon than we do. He's being ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
He's got like 10 kids. They all play Pokemon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So before I let you get out of here and enjoy the rest of your night, I do have some random questions for you. And
Great.
So the first one is, if y'all could live, and y'all can answer together, y'all can answer separately, but if y'all could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
I think we could answer for each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
The beach.
Yeah, I would do Savannah, Georgia, maybe Tybee Island.
Okay.
I really like, I love the South. I love this area that we live in. Again, I grew up in Illinois, so it was garbage state. I apologize to anybody who loves Illinois, but it's a garbage state, and it's terrible weather. The South is way better. But yeah, I love the beach. I grew up, I think I was 19 the first time I saw the ocean. I loved it.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Yeah. Every time we go.
Courtney would live in Asheville.
Yeah, Asheville, North Carolina is where I live.
Okay.
But I think I like Savannah, Georgia as well. Anytime we are within like 45 minutes of the ocean, Steven has to go look at the ocean. And yeah, because it's like I've only seen the ocean 5 times, 6 times, 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Charlie, you're in Georgia?
Where at in Georgia? Well, send us a message on IG. Like, I don't know how far away you are from Augusta, but we might have you come over because we're working from home tomorrow.
I have lunch with my mom, so you'll have to work around that. But
where are y'all at now?
Aiken, South Carolina, but it's like right
We're
over
on
the
the
border
border,
of Georgia and South Carolina.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And so the next one is, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Dinner with any 3 people.
3? Do they all at the same time? They have to.
Or can you have 3 separate dinners?
It could be 3 separate dinners,
Okay.
or it could be a 2-1. How you want to make it happen?
The people I would do it with wouldn't get along. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. You have any?
Brandon Sanderson, 100% Brandon Sanderson. My favorite author. That'd be one. So Brandon Sanderson. Who else? Jimmy Chin from.
You could probably do that, honestly.
Yeah. He's famous. The like director producer of that documentary. Maybe he's done a lot of them, but he's a mountain climber and videographer and stuff like that.
He's like unobtainable. You could probably find him.
Yeah. And then the last one for me, I would put. I'm thinking about it. I'll let her do some, and then I'll try to think of the last one.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So Luke obviously is on the list. I'll get sappy with it and say my grandmother who passed away. Like that'd be nice to have another dinner with her, and she'd have to cook, obviously, but I think we'd still have a good time. There's like people I like that I'm like a fan of, but I wouldn't want to like talk to them. You know, I wouldn't want to like have a conversation. I don't know what they like, and I don't. You think of another one.
I'm trying to think right now. I'm trying to think of a snake person that I don't even know. There's so many. The hard thing about the snake people is I feel like that they
just get dinner with them.
Yeah, you could just get dinner with them. Like they're not like that one's weird.
Yeah,
like
I think one thing that I've gotten more as I've gotten older is that like people who are famous, they're still like 90% of them are still they're just people.
Exactly.
Some of them are not just people, and they've you know, I feel like they've gone so long in their life where everybody has just been like yes to everything that they say that they're now hard to like. They're in their own worlds.
Yeah.
But who? Ron White.
Oh,
I would love to get dinner with Ron White.
I can't do Burt Kreischer because Courtney thinks I'll leave her for him.
She's funnier than me. I think a dinner with Ron White would be fantastic. That sounds like a great. He's a funny guy. He's relatable according to the persona he puts out.
So you said Ron White?
Ron White. He is a comedian and he's very funny.
Okay.
A little aggressive if you like the PG stuff. But he was he did the Blue Collar Comedy with like Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy way back in the day. But now he just does his own thing, and he's really funny. I like him a lot. We saw him live.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, that's dope. And so last one, well, actually not last one. I take that back.
Okay. All right.
If you won $10 million today, how would you use it?
Oh yeah. No, we'd buy a bunch of snakes, but not all of them.
10 million?
10 million.
Well, first of all, I would quit immediately. I would quit if I won $1,000. People
Would you put your 2 weeks notice in, or would you just be like, notice I'm not here for 2 weeks?
For half a week's pay, like, no, I would.
Just in case, Juan, you're watching, like.
It would take very little money. Like, people will be like, that's going to run out. Like, I remember I had a boss who was like, that the $1 million is going to run out. And I'm like, yeah, and I can deal with that when it comes. I'm quitting tomorrow.
Watch me run out the door.
Yeah. I think we'd probably like get a bigger house. Get like all those things that we like. But like once we start spending in frivolous ways, I would hire someone to do literally everything. Clean the house, cook everything.
Yeah.
Come trim the trees, mow the yard, all those things. Maybe not cook. I like to cook.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I would buy a bunch of snakes. I would buy a bunch of videography equipment.
A boat.
Yeah, and I
like a boat.
I get a Ducati. We ride motorcycles.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. But a garage, because we don't have a garage, and that's what's
so that's the thing
us.
is we'd have to buy the house, get a garage, and then he could buy the Ducati. Which I mean, that's already the plan. That's already the plan. Just do it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. So, what's one question y'all wished I would have asked you, and how would you have answered it?
Okay, you're getting these questions.
Yeah, this feels like
kind
of feels like a first date. So
all right, I like it. All right, so
that's usually the one that stumps people.
One thing that I like knowing whenever we're interviewing people is who are other people in the hobby that if we ask like Justin, who are other people in the hobby that are like newer that we think are like doing like really well or something like that. And it's not necessarily that. When I say newer, I don't mean like a newer than us, but I'm just saying like people like on our level or whatever. And I think that there's lots of people, and I'm going to name a couple of them, but there's plenty of them that are, I'm sure that I'm going to forget somebody. So I think that like Brandon Nixon has probably some of the best videography in the hobby. Like he's way better at it than I am.
Nice.
I think that the community that Adam has built is probably one of the most wholesome, strong, from Proper Royals, wholesome,
Not
strong,
our friend.
wholesome, strong communities in the hobby. I think that Chris Eaton is surprisingly, because I don't think that most people get this when they first see his content, is one of the like most genuine, like good people who cares about the hobby, even though he'll like put on his show of like curmudgeon. I think that there are some really, really awesome people in the community that makes the community
What's the
really, really
question
cool.
here?
Oh, is like who do we think are doing really well in the hobby?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a question that you wish he would have asked you?
You got a question, or you want to answer that one?
Who do I think does really well in the hobby?
No, just what
I know
what,
that's your question.
Yeah, that
that
was
you
my
wish
question.
we had asked, and I could just answer that.
Oh,
and
okay.
Cheap out and not like come up with my own. I think I had one for a second, and it was so going off of his was like, who do you think is doing well? I would say like who has been like who have been like the best people to us, because I think those people really do deserve credit, because we've had some people who have been just amazing, just the kindest people, the nicest people, always there when you need them, like very patient, and also like very like giving with their time and stuff. We met Brock Wagner at Daytona like 2 years ago, and immediately he was just like, oh, you like, Steven was like, I'd love to interview you sometime if you ever have, and he's like, yeah, let's do it right now, anything you need, like, oh, let's talk about this thing, let's like be really open with like what we're talking about. And then like Winston from WHS, same thing, just
amazing.
He's got a million things going on, and he's gonna stop and be like, let's talk for like 10 minutes. That's all I got. And it's like, I don't need the only 10 minutes you have, man. Like, you don't have to do that. Brad Boa, super nice. You know, Steven already mentioned like Chris Eaton, Adam having us on his show as so many different times. There have been, who else is there?
Brian from Samson Snakeatorium's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
well, and then you have like when we went out to Canova, you know, we hadn't ever purchased a snake from Justin, so we were a little like, hey, like, we're asking you to do this thing for us, even though like, you know, we're not like, because, you know, he does the tours with his Patreon and stuff, and it was like, we felt guilty about like asking for this like private this thing that on a busy day for him. And just so kind, like very obviously busy, but wanted to make sure we were 100% like, and Chase, who works for Summer, everyone's so nice and so
Josh,
giving. Well, yeah. I was gonna say he did let us see that something. He's at the top of that list. Just super kind people. There's so many.
Nice. Going back to y'all's comments on Adam, and I can definitely attest to that too. Like, I got an opportunity to spend a day with Adam about a month and a half ago. He vended one of the shows here locally in Florida, down in Lakeland, and he invited me to come hang out with him and do a ride along with him and just kind of like see the ropes and learn the ropes and showing me what he did. Talked about like his setup, his sales approach, and like customer service, and just like all kinds of things, and like just gave me some insights on some of the things that he's doing on his channel. So it was really dope. So definitely enjoyed hanging out with him, and definitely looking forward to next week's show with him as well. So I can definitely attest to Adam's a good dude.
There's so many good people, and I apologize. There's so many people.
There's so many good people. Like we can have a whole series of shows about the good people in the hobby. Like, it's been a dope thing. Y'all touched on something earlier today when y'all were talking about just like the community in general, and just how like how it's been so cool and just kind of been really like dope to be immersed within the community. And this is the first time that I've experienced something like this and so I like it. So I can definitely feel where y'all coming from with that.
And I think that like people always like talk about like what do you need to be successful. I genuinely think that not even like from a marketing angle, being involved in the community can help you out because there's going to be really hard times. There's going to be stuff that goes bad, and having that community support and having that connection to so many different people where you're like, this is really hard and I don't know if I can do this, but I don't want to give up because of all of these other people that I'm connected to. I think that that's
100%.
really, really important to have success is get involved in the community, make those friends, and it will help you get through the years and years it takes to actually like hack a clutch. Like
100%. That's a great point.
And you have people that you've been talking to for a while, and then they'll send you a picture of their first clutch of eggs, and you're like, yeah, because you're so excited for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know I'm sure there are, but that doesn't sound like a very common thing to happen in hobbies. I mean, I guess you would like share a picture of a car you built on Reddit, and people would be like, it looks awesome, man. So I guess that, but I don't know if you feel that same like.
Yeah, I remember when we posted that picture of us hatching out the first sunsets, and just there was like hundreds of comments. Like, and we didn't make anything cool. It was just a sunset. It was a sunset to a head sunset.
That's pretty dope.
Talked about it for so long, like.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, Courtney, Stephen, this has been spectacular. I really appreciate y'all coming on the show tonight. Definitely, it means a lot. Is there anything that y'all want to say to the listeners before we get out of here?
Absolutely. I just liked this video on the YouTube while doing the live, and I think that there are some people in this chat that haven't even done it. So shame on you guys. Get on over and Hulk smash that like button. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't do that. Let me unlike and try again.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's awesome. I really, really enjoy it. Like, this was a great live. You have a great show. You're killing it, man.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate the feedback and definitely appreciate y'all being a part of it. Everyone in the chat, don't forget to show the channel some love. Don't forget to show the guests some love, and don't forget to show the sponsors some love. Appreciate everybody coming out. Like I say, next week we've got Adam from Proper Royals. It's going to be a dope show, so y'all make sure y'all come and check that out as well. Can y'all hang back for just a second?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So everyone, thank y'all for coming out. Be blessed. Peace.